wasn't that hard to figure out, you know, which one fires, where does it line up. I mean, if you can just simply look at it and figure out which rods have to go down, where they line up in, you know, in the holes, where the pistons and the cylinders line up. I mean, you know, it's only going to go in there one way. That's the bottom line. But when you do get it in, you know, hopefully you have these all marked. Makes it easier to line them up, you know, with the pins. You want to get those dowel pins lined up. You can see I got my lines on here. I just got to spin them in the right direction. Make sure this slinger gets in its groove right there. And then, you know, everything should be hunky-dory at that point. And I'm going to line this up and I'll show you the rest after I get it in there. Crankshaft's in. It's nice and tight in there as far as rocking side to side. The bearings are lined up nicely. I gave it a spin, which is easier to do with two hands, but everything's nice. And I've already had this together once. I had the two case halves, you know, all lined up and everything in there, and it spun. You know, I didn't torque it down. Haven't torqued it down yet, but everything's, you know, so far so good as far as fitting in there nicely and moving around. It's really close there. I mean, it wasn't a problem before. I am running everything that was in it originally. I guess I might want to check into that a little closely. Better. Everything is clearanced as far as I know. Okay, so the cam bearings are in. The main thing with these is there are 3 different sizes. Make sure, you know, you figure that out. I had a little trial and error at first when I did this the first time. Like I said, I've had these case halves together and everything in there. I just pull it apart to clean it up. But there's a small one that goes in the back without the thrust, and that, you know, the notch right there lines up. There's a wider one without a thrust that goes in the center. Again, the notch will line up. There's a channel under there for the oil flow. You can see where the hole is, so the oil can flow through and be on the cam. And then this the thrust bearing in the front. This, it seemed to me, could go in either way. I could flip it either way. There's no notches that have to line up. My main thing when I installed it was the hole in the center being lined up with the oil groove right there. It was a little bit off, and it looks a little bit off right now, but it's more over that the groove the way I got it now. So that's the way I went with it. So I'm gonna drop these the lifters down in there. The lifters themselves are already oiled up real well. I'm just gonna throw a little more around inside the hole and down in each hole. Get it in there. Dab on each bearing. Everything here is already really good and oiled up, trust me. Like I said, the halves were together, so that's, you know, as far as being lubed up, that's not an issue. So giving a little spin on the way down. making sure everything's in there good. These lifters are pretty good. I've already tested them once. They fit in there nicely. I did run some steel wool through them. They were kind of sticky the first time around. They're much better now. As you can see, no real wiggle room. I give it a little bit of a push, I mean, but it's not like hanging up on anything. You know, that was a little hang up. It feels... Sometimes it's hard to tell with all the damn assembly oil, because this stuff is really thick, and oh man, it feels grindy. Something's hanging up in there. I don't see anything obvious on there. Stick my finger down in that hole, see if I can feel anything with my finger. I'd rather it be a piece of grit than something that I gotta freaking grind out or sand out. I can find a finger that fits. I don't feel anything obvious. This is the kind of stuff that'll make a sane man crazy. I don't know if it'll show up here. There's the tiniest little scratch. See that? Right next to that hole? How the hell did that get there? I stuck my finger down in the passage or the sleeve for it. And there was nothing that I could tell in there. And then as I was rubbing my fingers around this, I could actually feel that. You could see, look around the hole, how the metal's kind of lifted up around there. Yeah, you can really see that. So, shit, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take some really fine grit sandpaper. Trying to spin this around. If I could see anything else, but that's the only obvious thing right there. So take some I got like 600, 800 grit somewhere. Just kind of sand that down a little, clean it up, and you know, that's the best I can do with it. I'm not getting into a lot of machine work on this thing. Felt that though, I felt that. So here it is. I actually found some 220 grit. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Well, I haven't focused real good the first time. Let's see, come on now. Yeah, seems to be a lot of this going around, right? Scratch is gone, and the 220 didn't do too bad. Much smoother across. So we'll hit it. The assembly loop. A little shot down there. And hopefully this time, nice and slippery down in the hole, right? It'll spin as it goes. Oh yeah. Kinda. Yeah, kinda like that. Again, garage build. I did find a little scratch, took care of it. Did it help? Who knows? Certainly didn't hurt, so there you go. So if you remember in the last video, I kind of smoothed out around these edges because it felt kind of sharp to me. And the worst thing about it was that there was a little flashing of metal. It's kind of crazy. I can't explain it. But anyhow, I'm going to drop this in. There's already assembly lube on these. A little more. That will do ya. Especially since there's already a ton on here. Just line it up with all that. I'm trying to spin this around so the mark is showing in the front of the gear. Where is that guy? Let me find that sucker. Alright, camshaft going in. Colored the mark in with a Sharpie, black. Believe it or not, you can probably maybe see it on there. The lighting in here is horrible. There is the marks there that I can actually see. They're not, they're showing up on camera. Yeah, maybe black wasn't the best as far as filming, but it's there. It's in between. So they're rolling in there. Everything fits nicely down. Well, the idea is to give this a spin, right? Make sure your cam doesn't pop. And that tells you if the gears are right. And I'm here to tell you mine doesn't pop, but it did at first. And when it did, I thought, well, shit, the gears are wrong, right? But then I noticed the thrust bearing right here would stick to the cam when it popped out. And what it was the thrust bearing was too tight up against the cam itself, so it stuck to the cam. And that's what actually, it wasn't letting the cam spin properly, so it was popping out because of that. So what I did, I took the thrust bearing out, got some 220 grit, flat. I have actually a piece of granite that I used right here, chunk of granite. Put the sandpaper on that, kind of rubbed it back and forth. Took off, I don't know, a couple thousandths for sure. Who knows? I'm not sure. I didn't really measure it, but it, you know, it stopped a lot. Now it rides around in there nicely. The cam does not pop out at all. So that makes me feel good about, you know, the having the right gears. And double check is, I got a little bit of play there. I don't know if you can tell or hear that, but you can probably see. So I'm good with that. That seems to me to be, you know, within tolerance. Want a whole lot of sloppiness, but I didn't want it tight, and it was popping out because of it being too tight. So I corrected that, and that's all good to go now. But you can see where I'm at right here on this half. So this was the first oil pump I bought that I found out was the wrong one because of the wrong cam. I accidentally ordered one for a flat cam, not knowing that my cam was actually dished. If you look at them, you can see what drives the pump, which is this nub right here. This one sticks out higher, and it's also a deeper oil pump altogether. So I'm hoping with the bigger pump, I'm gonna get more oil pressure because I'm running an external filter, and you got more hose, you got more stuff that the oil is going to flow through. So, you know, a bigger pump probably isn't a bad idea. So, with that said, this is how I found out this was the wrong pump. I was going to do the dry fit it in over the studs, and I mean, you can clearly see it is not, it's not even close. I mean, it would, just the very end of it could get in there. These get locked up if you don't know them right. But trust me, it's not long enough to go where it needs to go. So with that said, if anybody wants to buy a brand new oil pump, it's there. So here's the new one. I've yet to fit it in there, but I'm assuming it should be good to go. Everybody talks about these little knocks. They say they don't have to be lined up. They don't mean anything. You know, I'm gonna assume that's correct. I mean, for me, just now, it helped me to get them both pointing in the same direction. So if they're for nothing else, they were for that. So, and the lighting in here is horrible. So try and get that lined up. So I'm trying this for the first time, and that already feels 100% better. It just locked in there. Let's give it a spin. See everything work. So everything's good. As far as the oil pump goes, the cam doesn't pop out. It was at first, but this thrust bearing was too tight. I took it out, ground down a little bit off the ends. You'll see, if you know about a thrust bearing, it like fits over there like a sleeve. So I took a little bit off both sides, and now it's not binding on the camshaft. Rides in there real nice. No popping out problems. Drill and tap that, and he put a plug in it for me. And what that's gonna do is, it's instead of sending the oil directly through the motor, it's gonna send it out through this guy right here. This mounts to the front, and this ribbed nipple goes in there, sends it through a hose, and then onto a filter that'll be mounted on, I'll mount it to the frame somewhere, but it's gonna flow through a hose. So what I'm trying to do now is line everything up for top dead center so I can put the distributor in. That'll help me, you know, to where I want to my number one spark plug to fire from. When this is in the vehicle, this is the number one, and that right now is at top dead center. It's straight up and down. So that I know is for sure number one. I could look up real quick in this book. Let's see. Oh, look, the other one doesn't turn. So what I'm gonna do is take this clamp off, the old distributor, which I thought was bad because of how loose this is in there. You know, then I discovered there's a shaft actually in the center of that is probably what would really determine if it was bad or not, and that shaft seems to be pretty good in the center there. But anyhow, I'm upgrading to electronic points. So with that said, let's get this guy on the new one. What I think's pretty, almost ashamed to put this old wore out clamp on there, but that's what's gonna happen. Slip that on there like so. Get it over the washers without messing them up. Get a little splooge of oil to help it get past. A lot of guys are saying that this slot should be in that position, like almost straight up and down or parallel with the front of the case. I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, because that puts number one in a totally different position than it would be normally. I guess that doesn't matter, as long as you get the plug wires all in the right order. I mean, does it matter if that's off? Nobody has really said, to be honest, because it all lines up when it's together. And what am I doing wrong? I'm pointing in the wrong direction. I'm going through the wrong hole. Holy cow, get it right. So I opted to go with lining up the slot with the front of the engine. Like I've seen it, I've actually seen it in the book that way as well. So the book's been around a lot longer than I have. And look at that. That clamp doesn't want to line up with that bolt. I bet, you know what, I think I got this upside down. So a couple things I was doing wrong is fumbling around here. I guess I should have figured that out before I started any of this. First of all, I was trying to mount it to the wrong bolt, which is crazy. I don't have a good view. I guess I should turn the whole stand. That one might help out as well. Anyhow, there's that. Gonna line it up with the front of the motor, because that's what this book said. I'm not gonna look it up right away, but it's in there, and it does say to line that up with the front of the motor. So I'm gonna do it that way. I don't suppose it matters where number one is on this distributor, as long as everything fits. So with that said, here, you can take that. This is still at top dead center. We got number one pointing straight up. I'm gonna flip this around so the vacuum advance is in a decent position. And that puts this off-centered with that. Everything lines up there. Now that I'm in a better position to do this, look at that. Fits like it's supposed to. A little bit of persuasion. I'm gonna use the cap itself so I don't destroy any of the internals here. Give it a little persuasion there. And then, bam, like butter. So that's in there. Got the timing advance, I got the vacuum advance where I want it. Right there. Let's get that nut on. That holds the clamp down. Left on that right here because I took this off last night. I do have new hardware for this too. I'm sure there's a nut and a washer. I'll replace it later when I get into that. All right, yeah, you can pause that for now. So, in my confusion and great wisdom, I had actually lost the spring at this point. Did you see the spring?
No.
Holy shit. So there's a spring. That is definitely here somewhere. Did it hit the floor at some point?
I don't think so.
All right,
Oh,
pause
it's down there.
Pause it. Found the spring. Had a second set of eyes help me find it. Thank God, because that thing's not very big. And now I'm finding out why some guys wait to put these on towards the end, because it's not as easy as I thought it would be, as it was portrayed in a couple of the videos that I saw. So what I'm trying to do now, I don't know, straight edge. Put the spring on the end of there and slide it down on top of the shaft. What is this? Okay, here? Probably. So get it lined up with the center. Hopefully everything goes in there. Does it look in from your end?
I can't really see it.
Yeah, I felt it go in. So that's in there now. Give it a little splooge of oil here. This is still lined up the way it was when I took it out. And so that gear, those prongs line up with the drive gear. Let's give it a little wiggle action. Everything should seat in there nicely once it finds its home. Pull this cap off just to make sure. Nope, it's not in there. Oh yeah, it is. So everything's lined up again. Number one is now pointing in the outer space, it looks like to me. But it's in there, and I'm gonna bolt it all down again, and I'll be back in a second.